Good morning and aloha. Councilmember Cordero, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with justice and liberty for all. Thank you. Councilmember Cordero, would you also like to introduce our guest today giving the message of aloha?
Thank you, Chair, and welcome, members. We are welcoming Kama Hopkins, who is with us, and he is a graduate of Kamehameha Schools and attended BYU Hawaii and the University of Hawaii at Manoa. He is the Hawaiian Cultural Advisor at Aulani, and Mr. Hopkins currently serves as a commissioner on the Hawaii State Public Charter School Commission. He served as an aide to OHA trustee Robert K. Lindsay Jr. from 2007 to 2020, and OHA trustee Keola Lindsay from 2020 to 2022. He served as the Trust Services Manager and Community Relations Manager for the King Lunalilo Trust, as well as a member and chair of the Manoa Neighborhood Board, a member of the Board of Directors of Malama Manoa, and as a member of the Board of Directors of Mamaka Ayalo. He also served as a Hawaiian Homes Commissioner, a board member on the governing boards of Halau Lokahi and Kanu Oka'aina Public Charter School, and was a member of the Hawaii State Board of Habitat for Humanity. Mr. Hopkins is also a member of the Nahoku Hanohana Award-winning Hawaiian music group Holunape. He is also a member of the musical group Nue na Ukulele Ekolu. Mr. Hopkins started out his professional career as a Hawaiian language immersion preschool teacher and then taught in the elementary, secondary, college, and adult education levels. He resides in Manoa, which is fitting because we have honored Uncle Cal, or Councilmember Calvin Say, who represents Manoa, with his wife, Chris. Together, they have 5 children and 3 grandchildren. He enjoys traveling and spending time with his ohana, and Mr. Hopkins tries to live each day by the motto, always with aloha. And it's fitting because we have him today for our message with aloha. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Kama Hopkins.
Mahalo. Kalamai. Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Madam Floor Leader, members of the Honolulu City Council, staff, friends, and community who gathered today, aloha. Again, my name is Kama Hopkins, and it is an honor to deliver this message of aloha this morning. I bring you the sweet gift of aloha from our beautiful Ahupua'a of Manoa, where our residents send their mahalo to all of you, but especially to our councilman who listened and helped us in his time of service, not only as our councilman, not only as a former state representative of a neighboring Ahupua'a, but most importantly as our friend. He makes all the men of Kalaipohaku proud, as a graduate and great representative of their character and values. He is also a graduate and great supporter of the University of Hawaii at Manoa. His family is proud of his service to our community and our state. And as much as you folks have heard this morning, he began his elected service to our state on November 2nd, 1976, as the representative of the 20th District in the Hawaii State House of Representatives, and was continuously elected and served in that seat until November 3rd, 2020. He rose in leadership there and ultimately became the Speaker of the House, a leadership post he held from January of 1999 to January of 2013, a record 14 years. He officially became our councilman of District 5 on January 2nd, 2021, and will conclude his time of service as our councilman on January 2nd, 2025. On that date, he will have served our people of the city and county of Honolulu and the state of Hawaii for just shy of 50 years. He is known in our community as Calvin, Representative Say, Speaker, Councilman Say, but I and many others have the privilege of calling him simply Uncle Cal. To all those who can hear me this morning, I bring to you this message from a longtime friend of Uncle Cal who not only served with him in the state legislature, worked with him on different issues facing Native Hawaiians, but who can also share a great many stories about their time together and issues they both faced in their different careers as public servants. And I promised we will not share any of those stories here today. I bring to you this short message from someone who is or was called Robert, Bob, Rep. Lindsay, Trustee Lindsay, Chair Lindsay, and in my case, Uncle Bob. This short message is from former Chair Robert K. Lindsay Jr., who was the chair of the Board of Trustees of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Calvin, from the chilling ki pu'upu'u rain of Waimea in Paniolo country, Kathy, our boys, and their ohana send our aloha to you, Cora, and your ohana. You will have served our state and your community for nearly 50 years upon your retirement from the Honolulu City Council on January 2nd, 2025. I know we have fond memories and stories of our time together, which I will always cherish. Mahalo to you and your colleagues for all you do and did to help make Hawaii a better place, not only for our kama'aina, but for all who have moved here and now call this place home. Kama said you would gladly get up and do a hula, but we only have 5 minutes. So we can skip that for now. But enjoy, as I did, the ride into the sunset. You've deserved it. You served everyone very well and left your community in excellent shape to face the future. We wish you well in this next chapter of your life, and again, send to you and your ohana our aloha, Bobby. Nā kia kua no e ho'opo mai ka ia o ko apau I ke alaka I ana mai kia makahiki ho. May God bless all of you in your leadership, in leading us in next year and the years to come. Mahalo. Aloha.
Okay. Sure. Good morning again, members. We have a few procedural announcements to make. Although remote oral testimony is being permitted, this is a regular meeting and not a remote meeting by interactive conference technology under HRS Section 92-3.7. Therefore, the meeting will continue, notwithstanding loss of audiovisual communication with remote testifiers or loss of the public broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda, either in person in the council chamber or remotely. Before testifying, each person shall state their full name and the agenda item they are testifying on. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 3-minute presentation on public hearing and new business items, and a 1-minute presentation on all other items. Registered in-person testifiers will be called first. When your name is called, please proceed to the podium and begin by stating your name and the items you'll be speaking on. When I call for anyone who has not registered to speak in person, please line up to the right of the podium, and when it is your turn, proceed to the podium. Begin by stating your name and the items you will be speaking on. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or phone will then be called. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. When I call for anyone else standing by remotely, please utilize the Zoom raise hand button to indicate your desire to speak. For those joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. The following are some friendly reminders and tips. Video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you are also watching the proceeding on Olelo, please mute your television when you are called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. For those who are joining us by telephone only, I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When your number is called, press *6 to unmute yourself when prompted. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off all cell phones for the duration of the meeting. Council members and members of the audience, the following items were not posted on the agenda for consideration. On page 11, we have a hand-carried posted FD2 Amendment to Bill 64, 2023, FD1 CD2 relating to use regulations. On page 12, Bill 46 CD2 Proposed FD1 Amendment relating to real property taxation. On page 16, we have a hand-carried Proposed FD1 Amendment to Resolution 24-255 CD1 granting special management area major permit to allow for the construction of improvements for the Waimanalo Beach Park in Waimanalo, Oahu. On page 26, we have a hand-carried Proposed FD1 Amendment to Resolution 24-282, establishing a council friendship relationship between the City Council of Yamaguchi City, Japan, and Council of the City and County of Honolulu. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Cordero?
Here.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Here.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Here.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Present.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba? Here. Councilmember Tupola?
Ao.
Councilmember Wire?
Here.
Chair Waters?
Here.
Mr. Chair, 9 members are present.
Thank you. Floor Leader Cordero, introduction of guests.
Thank you, Chair. None further than you've mentioned before, but I know I normally like to do this at the end of the meeting during announcements, but I do want to wish a few of our members some well wishes. I do want to wish a belated happy birthday to Councilmember Tupola, as well as a future but currently birthday month to Councilmember Wire, as well as Councilmember Dos Santos Tam. So,
Oh, wonderful.
happy birthday.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kia Aina, motion to approve minutes.
I move that the minutes of the 27th session be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any speakers on the minutes, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you, members. We're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, the minutes have been approved. Turning to the top of page 4, order of the day. From the Committee on Parks, Enterprise Services, and Culture and the Arts, Councilmember Tolba.
I move that CR 347 and Resolution 24-262 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tolba for the explanation.
Confirming the appointment of Trevor Abarzua to serve on the Board of Parks and Recreation for the City and County of Honolulu.
Thank you. I did see Trevor here a few minutes ago. There he is. Aloha, Mr. Arbazura. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, aloha and good morning, Chair and Council. My name is Trevor Abarzua, and I'm really excited for the potential to serve on the board. I was able to meet with a few council members in the last month, and just to hear what their ideas are for the board and for Parks and Rec, and to add my expertise and from my career, but also as a resident. So really excited to work with you all, really excited to work with the men and women that work with Parks and Rec and bring some new ideas. And yeah, here to answer any questions, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, members. Any questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you, members. We're in discussion. Oh, excuse me. Tim Gary, please proceed.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I strongly support Trevor in this new position on Parks and Rec. He's a tremendous asset to us in Waikiki. He's got the public in his heart, and any position we can give him, city, county-wide, let him have it. Calvin, thank you for all your years of service.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Mr. Clerk, any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion.
Chair.
Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much. Just want to speak in support of Mr. Abrazura. Grateful that he's willing to serve in this position, this capacity. Looking forward to great ideas that might have been implemented in Waikiki that we could possibly do county-wide for our parks. I think his service has been stellar. His record of public, concern and incorporating public comments and opinions is what we really need for this particular position. So I'm grateful that he was nominated and thankful to see him serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 347 and Resolution 24-262 have been adopted. Congratulations and thank you, Trevor. Moving to the bottom of page 4 from the Committee on Housing, Sustainability, and Health, Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Move the committee report 350 and Resolution 24-261 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Wire for the explanation.
This is relating to the appointment of Kehaulani Pu'u to serve on the Board of Water Supply of the City and County of Honolulu.
Thank you very much. I note that Ms. Pu'u is here. Aloha, welcome. Would you like to say a few words?
Hi, Aloha Chair Waters, Vice Chair, members of the council, Kehaulani Pu'u. I just want to say that I am excited and honored to be able to serve to Malama Kuleana as a board member with the Honolulu Board of Water Supply. I look forward to contributing and doing my best to both serve community as well as bring my ike and experience from my short time with the city, my work, my current work, and again, as a community member, consumer, and as a Native Hawaiian woman. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions for Ms. Pu'u? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have Mr. Law from Board of Water Supply signed up.
Okay, aloha, Mr. Lau, please proceed.
Aloha, Ernie Lau, Board of Water Supply. I strongly support the appointment of Kehau to the board. I mahalo her for being willing to serve. At this time, the Board of Water Supply, the board is actually a very important body to chart the course for our future to Malama Arvai. So I welcome Kehau in this role with the board. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Manager Lau? Seeing none, any further testimonies?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you. I'd just like to speak in support of Ms. Pu'u. I appreciate her work in DPR, but also for coming back and serving this position as somebody who does take the kuleana of serving our community seriously and as well from a Native Hawaiian perspective. I'm looking forward to hearing from the Board of Water Supply commissioners as well as, Ernie in regards to our upcoming landfill siting and any insight that they might have, as well as they have the goal of protecting water, so do we. So we all want to work together to make sure that we have the best path forward. And I think for dedicating more hours of service to the city, even not working for the city, we appreciate you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 350 and Resolution 24-261 has been adopted. Congratulations and thank you, Ms. Pu'u. Next, turning to the top of page 5 from the Committee on Budget, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 360 and Resolution 257, which confirms the reappointment of Rex Akutagawa to serve on the Rate Commission of the City and County of Honolulu, be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Thank you for the explanation. Is Mr. Akutagawa here? Aloha, thank you for being here today. Would you like to say a few words?
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I would like to thank the reappointment of my commission. And as a individual rider of public transportation, I understand how the systems work as well as the importance of the system to the community. I also feel that my knowledge gained through experience as the Administrative Services Officer at the DOT Harbors with involvement in budget and finance allows me to provide that knowledge to apply to the evaluation of rate recommendations. So looking forward to providing continued support for the Rate Commission. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have one remote testifier, Donald Sakamoto, standing by.
Okay, aloha, Mr. Sakamoto, please proceed.
Good morning, Chair Waters and members of City Council. Donald Sakamoto, President of Citizens for a Fairly Right. I would like to support Rec's appointment for the Honolulu Rate Commission. I attend the meetings. He gives value input to our future rates for our bus, paratransit, and Skyline, and I appreciate him to serve on this board and look forward to working with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakamoto. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, any further testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 360 and Resolution 24-257 has been adopted. Congratulations and thank you, Mr. Akutagawa. Turning to page 6, first reading items. Vice Chair Kia Aina.
I move that the first reading items listed on pages 6 and 7 pass first reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Vice Chair Kia Aina for the explanation.
Bill 61 relates to wheelies. Bill 62 relates to motor vehicle registration. Bill 63 relates to accessory dwelling units. And Bill 64 relates to down payment loans.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers on any of the 4 items?
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Lopresti standing by for Bill 61.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha. I wanted to say that I strongly support the measure to increase safety in our roadways, our sidewalks, and for all who use them. Large groups of people do this multiple times a week for hours at a time in front of my house on Keoneula Boulevard and Eva Beach. It's distracting to drivers, and they even do it on walkways when pedestrians are present, so it's very frustrating. I will add that one concern with this is that we need enforcement dollars for HPD to enforce it. We also need to make sure that HPD is out patrolling to enforce these sorts of laws. If they were simply present and visible in our communities instead of hiding in parking lots waiting for calls, then these kids wouldn't be doing it and a lot of the laws wouldn't be broken. I encourage the council members and citizens to look at places where they are and to encourage HPD to please patrol more. So, for example, Mililani at Kamehameha Highway and Mehe'ula Parkway at the Mormon Church, you drive by every day. There's a bunch of cops sitting there outside their vehicles instead of being present in the community where people can see them. It's so common. You can go on Google Maps and look at the street view and you can see them there. In Neva Beach, it used to be at Keoneula Boulevard and Fort Weaver Road. They just sit there in a parking lot hiding away until phone calls come in. And it's very frustrating. So I support this measure. But more than that, I support having HPD officers actually patrolling and actually being visible and actually being present on the streets. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, for Bill 62, we have Natalie Iwasa and Chuck Williams here in person in the chamber.
Okay. Natalie Iwasa, then Chuck Williams. And then I believe HPD is also present. I will go at Chuck Williams instead of Natalie Iwasa. Morning. Please proceed.
Good morning, council members and chair. Thank you so much for having this hearing and that I have an opportunity to speak to you. It's a wonderful thing that you're proposing for our veterans.
Can you please state your name and the bill you're testifying on?
Chuck Williams. I'm a veteran during the Korean. I was a Navy corpsman 3 months in my 17th birthday when I joined. We can't do enough for our veterans. I'll take me out of the picture, but for our veterans. And maybe you may not know this, but the average age of veteran passes is 67. less than 1% of our population in the United States serves in the military. To me, that's unbelievable. And 75% of our youth today can't even pass the physical because they're on these phones and tablets and so forth. And that's also a sad commentary. And hopefully that will change. But I strongly encourage this because we have many veterans. Some of them are still living on the streets or in their cars. And I hope that the next thing you do will be to get every veteran into some sort of facility. And one last thing, the lady I'm sitting over here next to is going to be testifying with a number of people about the wind turbine thing. And I don't know if many of you are aware, but thousands of birds have been killed since these windmill farms on the mainland, and many whales, hundreds of whales as well. So, and not only that, but many of the parts
Thank you, sir.
come from China.
Thank you, sir. We're not on that measure yet. But you're testifying in favor of Bill 62, correct?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions for Mr. Williams? Seeing none, thank you. Next, we have Natalie Iwasa.
I pressed it off, sorry. Thank you, Chair, Council members, Natalie Wassa. Are we testifying on all of the first reading?
Yes, all first
Okay,
reading
I have
measures.
two bills then. The first one, I guess I did a typo when I sent this in, but Bill 61 on the wheelies. I just wanted to make a comment. I mean, clearly people are upset about this, and I agree we should not be doing wheelies on the roadways. However, I just wanted to point out that the definition that you have in there for the wheelies includes only the mopeds and the motorcycles. You have a separate definition for electric bikes, but that's not included in the definition for wheelies, unless I misread it. So I think that should be looked at. I've seen electric bikes do wheelies, believe it or not. And then in committee, please discuss why this is not already considered reckless driving. Because when somebody's popping a wheelie by somebody who's trying to get into a car, to me, that's reckless. So I think we need to understand why that's not considered reckless driving. And those are my comments on that one. I'd also like to testify on Bill 64, please. This one is with respect to a law that was passed recently by the state. It allows the counties to have a down payment loan program for low and moderate income individuals. And I'm asking that in committee that you discuss what the council anticipates putting into this program. You know, how many people do you expect the city to be able to fund? Because as we all know, even down payments are expensive. So please have a robust discussion in committee so that we can all understand what you anticipate the program entailing. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Wassa. I think those are awesome questions. So just wanted to walk through it and then see if you had any feedback after that. So the definition of moped includes both the state law, which has a definition, and an electric bicycle. So under the statute, they're all grouped under the same, and then they all come under wheelie. So just kind of clarifying when you're asking or suggesting like, oh, it doesn't include e-bikes. It's all through the definition and the language in the ordinance. And then I think you are correct in that a wheelie is reckless, right, and could constitute reckless driving. So the issues we have first is that the definition of electric bike is always subject to change because as the market's shifted and we've gotten these faster ones, there's some that aren't classified, you know, they've had to adjust the state law. And then of course there's the other issues we're dealing with. So I think the intent was a broad definition that applies to everything, so it's clear, and then a clear standard. So, you know, with reckless, there's many components that could go under reckless, right? And then of course, if, say, an officer writes a citation and just reckless driving sends to the prosecutor, I mean, that has to get dismissed on the first, right, when it comes to court, because there's no factual basis to charge it. So, because a wheelie is a very defined thing, you know, of course, if they wrote more in the citation, that could solve it, but just having like a clear standard in a clear definition that's broadly applicable was something the community was asking for, and so that's how we arrived at it. So I don't know if you have any feedback on that, but just given your good questions, wanted to provide that background.
If I may, Chair, just one follow-up comment on that.
Please.
So, you know, our laws should always be clear so that people who are trying to follow them can understand what they say. And if I remember correctly, you had a bill that you were using to define electric bikes. There were 3 levels of disclosure, correct? So if you're now looking at the state law to include electric bikes in the definition of moped, I ask you to look at those other definitions that you've already talked about with respect to the 3 different levels of electric bikes, just so that it's all consistent.
No, mahalo, that's wonderful. I think Chief Logan's doing outreach with the legislature, and of course I know Councilmember Santos Tam, and I believe Councilmember Toba have the e-bike bill. So yeah, I think that's awesome feedback. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Favela, would you like to testify on these matters? Aloha and welcome.
Thank you, Chair, Council members. I'm in support of Bill 61. I just like to speak about my community because previous speaker had talked about my community and my police officers that work hard every day. If we had more officers on the road, we wouldn't have too much guys driving around nighttime and having DUIs and driving reckless in our community too. So the bottom line is this, Chair. Wheeling, e-bikes, riding on the road, it's not HPD, it's Kuleana. It's the parents, the people that sell it, and the parents that buy it. There should be more of an education program like everything else. And if they don't, people that's selling them is breaking the law, then stop them from selling it. The bottom line is we got to go at the consumer and the parents. Because we're going to blame HPD for everything, then we should not stop with not stopping people for drinking and driving. I mean, that's the same thing, right? It's the bottom line. So again, I don't believe the police is their fault. In our community, say something, see something, do something, not just flap your lips. So again, thank you, Chair, for your time.
Thank you so much. Any questions for our Senator? Seeing none, thank you, sir. I do note that Suzanne Young had also registered to testify. Aloha.
Aloha, Chair Waters and council members. I'm Suzanne Young with the Honolulu Board of Realtors. Our members work every day to put people in homes, and I am testifying in support for Bill 64. And I want to thank Councilmember Cordero and Wire for introducing this bill. We know that down payment assistance is necessary because down payment is one of the barriers for people to become homeowners. So to see the city actually stepping forward to allocate funding from your general fund is a big step. And we look forward to discussing and having robust discussions, as Natalie Iwasa said. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Young? Seeing none, thank you. Do we have anybody else who'd like to testify on first reading measures? Located on page 6 and page 7. Aloha, Mr. Manaku. Please proceed.
Aloha and good morning, Mr. Chair. Dane Fia Manaku Sr., concerned parent, grandparent, great-grandparent. I'm concerned too about that new invention that we have. I also got into an accident, and I cannot even remember what happened. I ended up with 4 broken ribs, gang. Amazing, you know, that new invention that we had. And I'm really concerned about that thing because, you know, I don't drive. But, you know, in my community, I watch the children that drive, and I mean children, and they worry me because they drive on the road popping wheelies. And I'm concerned because some of them are my friends' children, and my friends drive, and I wonder what's going to happen if we run into them. You know, whose fault will it be? Will it be my fault, or will it be my friend's fault because they're not teaching their children how to drive carefully or not to pop wheelies, because that's a dangerous thing. I mean, they're driving on the highway in front of cars that's speeding. You know, so we need to somehow adjust that So good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else from the audience who'd like to testify on these four measures, Bill 61, 62, 63, and 64? Sir, aloha, welcome.
Aloha. I just want to say, on Bill 64, group living housing, I had testified in two other hearings that we had.
This is relating to down payments for homes.
Okay,
It's a
excuse me.
brand new bill, Bill 64. We also have later on in the calendar another Bill 64 that was from a previous year. But this one relates to down payments of loans.
Well, you raise the bar as soon as group living can be testified upon. Please, Chair.
Pardon?
On group living, on Bill 64, raise the bar. That's the reason why I'm here to testify.
Okay, absolutely.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Thank you,
No,
Chair.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate you. Ma'am, again, we're talking about relating to wheelies, Bill 61, relating to motor vehicle registration, Bill 62, relating to accessory dwell limits on Bill 63, and relating to down payment loans on Bill 64.
Okay.
Please proceed.
The down payment, you know, it's nice to say down payment, but when you live in Hawaii, the cost of living is very high. We have kupunas, we have children we're trying to help them to get down payments. But let's put it this way. In straight English, the down payment is not for our people in Hawaii because the interest rate is very high. The interest rate, let's not play this dog and pony show. I'm here for the voice of people who do not have a voice, for my kupunas, for the children who's coming back from the mainland college, who's thinking they'll be able to have a down payment. So all I'm saying, before you folks introduce bills like this, think about the children that we kicked off the island because of we call home. Our home is not paradise. What people call paradise, this is our home. Please remember, don't kick any more of the people who worked it from the bottom up to be in their homes. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to testify on first reading items, please proceed.
Aloha, Chair and members of the committee. My name is John Clark III. I am the current chairperson of the EVA Neighborhood Board. I stand in support of the reading 61, first reading 61. I realize it's a first reading. However, in EVA Beach, this has been a very serious problem and challenge. As you all know, we have a space on our calendar where we allot for elected officials as well as police to present to us. I remember distinctly several times when HPD has presented to us and we've discussed these serious injuries that have occurred in our area. HPD specifically mentions the law and that there is a small space in the law that doesn't clearly define these things. So we absolutely need this, and I disagree with our senator from the area. It is a kuleana of all of us to handle this, but it starts with the law. If we don't have the law to enforce, then we can't allow parents to have that third-party leverage or the police to actually do something with the repeat offenders. I'm not saying take all of our keiki and put them in jail. I'm saying give them a warning or two or even three, but at some point we have to lay down the law, no pun intended.
Thank you,
Mahalo.
sir. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Aloha, please proceed.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Okay, so I wasn't prepared for 62, but I'm just reading it. I just need clarification. I know we talked about the registration before, Radiant. Is this pertaining to that all registered vehicle owners will only pay $20, or is this only based on the military as I discussed previously?
Councilmember Tupola.
Veterans over the age of 65.
So this exemption will be only for veterans over 65. So then that means everybody here who's a local, who's not a veteran, still pay the $360 for a Toyota and $600 for a truck, correct? Okay, so what I would like to, sorry, Walin Christian, testifying on Bill 62. Again, I want to emphasize, that's great, you're going to give veterans that, but what about our kupuna, who's 65 or older, who's not in the military? Why aren't they getting that break? Why not have a reduction of the registration fees for everybody and lift up the military. Because remember, I told you guys before, if you are a non-resident but you're serving in Hawaii, which I love my military, I was married to one, they only pay $20 a year. That's the last time I registered my vehicle. It was $20 for the year. So I believe I had stated before that what we need to do is come to a medium because the military can afford the $200 a year. Our people are having a hard time affording $360 for a Toyota and $600 for a truck. So that is gonna disable them from getting eventually their registration, which will in turn have HPD have to give them a ticket. Then they have to pay the $600 plus whatever fees the court does. So all I ask is that, and I don't know if this is part of the bill, thank you, Andrea, but please consider lowering the registration fees for everybody. I yield.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on first reading items?
Mr. Chair, we have Mr. Alfred Medeiros standing by for Bill 61.
Okay, please proceed. Aloha, Mr. Medeiros.
Aloha mai kako, Alfred Kakeona Medeiros ko inoa no wainai mai au. I got two bills I'm talking about. I'm in total opposition of Bill 61. For the fact is, there's other things that needs to be taken care of before concerns about wheelies on the road. I agree with many people when saying it's the parents that you got to talk to, but also there's already HRSs in place that the law enforcement can actually hold the people who are violating the laws for. There is reckless endangerment laws. You know, if anybody who rode two wheels like myself, we've been pulled over by police officers for riding reckless, given citations, getting warnings, right? So to me, it's a waste of time, waste of money, and I see it as government overreach. I want to talk about Bill 62, though. I agree that our veterans should be taken care of, right? But it should be all about our people too as well, our elders, our kupuna. It shouldn't just be only for one type of people just because they served in the military. Some of them only served for 4 years or less, but then they're going to get this incentive, right? They're going to be taken care of, $20, while we're paying $600 for a Toyota Tacoma. This is ridiculous, and our roadways still get potholes. You know what I mean? 10% of the people on Oahu probably ride the rail. You know what I mean? So it's a waste of money in many ways, right? There's no improvements being done. I just see it as a waste of time and waste of money if you're doing it that way only. I agree with the Wahine ahead of us, Wallen, I believe, when she says that they can afford to do this. We cannot. As people of Hawaii, we're one paycheck away from moving out of Hawaii. Make it affordable for us to stay here in our home. We're tired of being displaced, especially as Kanaka Maoli. Time to give us some rebates. Time to give everybody who's working a 9-to-5 some welfare, some Section 8, something to help us to live here in Hawaii, you know? So I oppose 61, and I gotta say I oppose 62 too, until there's better ways to do it better for our people. Put our people first. Simple as that. Mahalo for you guys' time, and I hope you guys have a happy holidays. Aloha.
Thank you, Mr. Medeiros. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Any other testifiers on first reading items?
Mr. Chair, we have Summary Adao standing by remotely.
Okay, before we go back to the remote testifier, we have somebody in person. Aloha, welcome.
Aloha, o wau ka puakili I kua kamai no ka aina ho o pula pula ka awa wainai mai au. E kala mai au lohi au aka. Make make au ho o mai kai I ka pila kana ono kumalua. No na military veterans. He Hawaii au aka. Ua hele au I ka U.S. Air Force. Umi makahiki. My 10 years were outside of the state of Hawaii. As a Hawaiian citizen, as a Hawaiian Kanaka, I retained my Hawaiian residency. Although I served in Florida and in California, where I could have been done with state taxes. I could have done this to save money, but I continue to participate in the voting process. I continue to participate in the state taxes process because Hawaii apparently needed it. Kalamai. Our veterans need this, whether they served 2 years or 4 years. We don't know where they were or what they did. What if they're 2 years in Vietnam, 4 years in Afghanistan? As long as they are honorably discharged, by the way, I support James Scheidel's VFW testimony. Hopefully we can incorporate that proposed changes, and it does make a difference. While some of our people did not fit well within the confines of the military and were not honorably discharged, those that were served the military. And although today I take a different position on America and Hawaii, I served because at that time I was an American. Ike iala he Hawaii au. I support Pila 62. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Anybody else like to testify on first reading items? By the way, all first reading items will be sent to committee, which we'll hear next month. Aloha, please proceed.
Aloha, wakia kako, wauka ili kamai noho au ia vava waenai. Good morning. I'm a United States Army Master Sergeant retired, 23 years. First 2 years in Vietnam, I ended my 23rd year in Desert Storm. Hawaii au pu. I'm a Hawaiian too. I'm 72 years old. Andrea, Augie, I appreciate this. I really do. And I'm in support of it. I'm also in support of James Chandel's addition, right? That I can see where he's trying to come from. You need to identify the veteran versus non-veteran. Okay. Mahalo.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on first reading items? Seeing none, I do note that HPD is here. You originally came up to the podium. Would you like to say a few words on these matters? Hello and welcome.
Good morning, Speaker and council members. This is in support of Bill 61. The HPD does support this bill. We do have a few reservations regarding this. I noticed some previous speakers were mentioning reckless driving, and under the 291-2, which is the Hawaii Rights Statutes for reckless driving, you can face up to 30 days in jail or up to a $1,000 fine for something that is deemed reckless. I'd like to point out that we are in discussions with DTS Director Morton and the Committee for E-Bikes in response to Bill 61. This is specifically for wheelies. There is another bill that we're working on that identifies e-bikes, the categories of the e-bikes, and that falls under Bill 50. In Bill 50, we'll also discuss behaviors that aren't consistent with just normal bike riding. So I'd like to just clear the air for some of our previous speakers. Both issues are being addressed with the HPD and also with DTS. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for HPD? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. All for the testimony. And I just wanted to make sure I understood what the reservations about maybe conforming the penalties in the ROH to the HRS. Is that okay?
Absolutely, sir. What we don't want to see is a minor getting a $1,000 fine. And I don't think that is your guys' intent or anything like that, but that was what was brought up in our discussions, is how are we going to make this monetary assessment for doing a wheelie.
Okay. No, I appreciate that.
Yep.
Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions for HPD? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Mr. Clerk, do we have any further testifiers before we go into discussion?
Mr. Chair, we have two persons logged on, standing by.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha, my name is Summer Dao. I am testifying on Bill 62. I just wanted to support the previous testifiers that although this is great for our veterans, I have many family members who serve in the military and have served in the military, and this should be considered. But like previous testifiers have said, it should also be extended to people in Hawaii who have lived here for generations, especially for Kanaka Maoli. This only furthers the disproportionate amount of people who get pulled over because they have expired registration, expired safety, all that, or don't even have it, whatever. We need to extend this to make sure that our people can survive here, and that means making this apply to more people of Hawaii. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Yadao? Seeing none, thank you. Next testifier, Mr. Clerk.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, the testifier's not responding.
Okay. Members, we're in discussion.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Oh, okay, back to testimony. Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Please proceed. Please proceed.
Hello?
We're waiting on you. Please proceed. Mr. Clerk?
Sorry, some technical issues. He's apparently not responding.
Hello?
Aloha, please proceed.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Chair.
Councilmember Cordero.
I believe that your video was muted. I think that's why.
I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I would like the translation of the earlier testimonies for 61 and I think 62. They originally were speaking in a language that was not English, and it is not fair to the participants of the meeting to not know what's being said. I'm not sure what language it was. I'm assuming that it was Hawaiian, and that is a dead language, so it would not work on translator.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I believe the testimony was both in English and in Hawaiian. Mr. Clerk, let's move on, please. I see a Karen O'Maloney and a Jim Tree. Are they raising their hands on any of the first?
I just wanted to let you know we can't hear Tommy Waters talking. He's on mute. So I don't know if you heard the last testifier.
Okay, let's take a recess. Okay, members, we're reconvening. We're still on first reading items on pages 6 and 7. I believe we had 2 people with their hands up. I do want to note that Hawaiian and English are the official languages of the state of Hawaii. Councilmember Kiaina?
Yes, and I'm sorry, no offense to the testifier, but how dare you say that? It is not a dead language. It's very much alive. And if it wasn't for the fact that those who helped to overthrow the Kingdom of Hawaii banned our language, we would be speaking only Hawaiian now. So please learn your history and be very respectful when you come to testify at the City Council.
Thank you. I do not see any further hands up, so I'd like to proceed to discussion. Members, Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair. Hikia uke o lalo Hawaii, ke ia manawa, I ke ia halavai, ina halavai apau, ina mea apau. I can speak Hawaiian in this meeting and in any other meeting that I choose to speak it in because Hawaiian is the official language since 1978 in the 15th article of the Constitution, Section 4. So I just wanted to make that clear that it's okay to speak it, and Auntie Kapua did speak it and then translate for herself. So thank you. We are not trying to exclude anyone. Definitely when we speak Hawaiian, we try to translate it after for other people to hear as well. And yes, my kids did go to Hawaiian immersion and we speak Hawaiian in our home and it's not dead. Thank you. So let's go to Bill 61. So Bill 61, I have reservations similar to HPD, but I'm not going to vote reservations. I'm going to go up on this. I do appreciate the introducers. I appreciate the comments that were made from the public today as well as online. My concerns are that in my community, there are wheelies with the front wheel up as well as the back wheel up. There's also handstands on the bike. There's headstands on the bike. There's reckless driving that is more than wheelies. So I appreciate the introducer sharing that he wanted to make it broad. I'm going to suggest that reckless driving is actually a little broader than that. I hate the fact that we have so many different types of stunts in YNI, but there's lots. And so I want to make sure that it covers all of it. And to the officer's point, I am concerned about a high fine. And if there is any possibility that we could have a punishment that was a little bit more punitive to behavior, I would like the kids in my district to come clean the streets with me if they are doing the wheelie. So if you get caught doing the wheelie, I would rather them come to one of my cleanups and clean alongside me every time they do it instead of the fine, because I want to talk to them about their behavior. So I'm hoping that there can be something that's a little bit more effective to change the child's behavior than a fine that might actually put them in prison, which we don't want. We don't need that. So looking forward to work with the introducers of the bill. On Bill 62, which Councilmember Toba and I introduced, we are working on an amendment to make sure that it's only honorable discharge. I appreciate those who said that. And it is not my intention to not benefit all of the people of Hawaii, and especially our kupuna, as well as non-veterans. But when we work with CSD, which is our customer service division, as you know, we're affecting their income, their bottom line. So I had to go back and forth with them on what would be allowable, what would, cost some money, but not as much. How do we benefit? So we can come out with other carve-outs, but I've been working closely with Director Hashiro on this. She's been great. So to be clear, I'm not going to leave it at that, but this is one of our first steps towards helping our kupuna. I appreciate Auntie Kapua and her husband for coming. They drove all the way from Waianae, which the traffic was terrible this morning, to come out here and testify. I appreciate all of those who have given service to our country. And as stated by Auntie Kapua, we don't know the details of what has happened, whether the 2 or the 4 or the 10. So I'm not going to speak on it. I'm not going to downplay it, but I will not downplay the fact that everyone needs help. And I hear you, and we want to work on further amendments for that. I'm in support of Bill 63 for the ADUs. I appreciate that. And lastly, for Bill 64, I have spoken with DCS. We do actually do a down payment program with HUD funds. So I just wanted to make sure that we are actually going to, if we have one already, how we can make it more robust or help it more instead of creating a new one. But if we have 2, if it helps, great. If it helps that we kind of make more robust and make the one we have a revolving fund so that we can continuously do it, I'm open to hear what Director Kroki has to say on it. But again, thank you to the introducers, and those are my comments on first reading.
Thank you so much. Members, any further comments? Councilmember Cordero, followed by Wire.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank my co-introducers, which is the same one, co-introducer for both Bill 61 and 64. First off, I know that many of our communities are taking matters into their own hands to educate their neighbors. So I look forward to further discussion with HPD in the committee for Bill 61. As for Bill 64, I do want to thank DCS as well as the Honolulu Board of Realtors for coming to the Committee on Budget to tee up discussions about down payment and where the gaps for workforce, but also people like all of us who may need assistance. So I look forward to further discussion with the department and the rest of our members and the rest of our community and stakeholders in the committee. Mahalo.
Thank you. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, also in support of all the measures, just wanted to note on Bill 61, I actually do agree with the sentiments from HPD and from Councilmember Tupola. I think it's very on point. I'll just note that I would also agree with the violation probably being the appropriate status level so that we would be able to get folks into court, and then also so community service could be an option as a penalty. Understanding reckless is a petty misdemeanor. I don't think the ROH would be codified under is a petty misdemeanor as a penalty. So just wanted to share, as I'm sure Transportation Committee has those conversations about whether it would be a petty misdemeanor violation or infraction. That was my sentiment. That I think I agree with all the testimony or input that was given. Given the discussion on addressing the VFW's testimony on 62, and that it's seemingly going to be addressed in committee, no reservations on that. Of course, wanted to thank, as mentioned, my co-introducer on 61 and then also on 63. And then on Bill 64, just to add clarity so folks kind of know going forward, understanding, like Councilmember Tupola said, there is a HUD-funded down payment assistance program. It's income restricted. And so I know DCS is doing a lot of work to get folks qualified for that. When you take that amount, which is 80% of the area median income and below, and then look at folks above that and property values, we're excluding a large gap of people that could benefit from assistance, and we're not talking about super wealthy folks, but this could be like 2 teachers or a firefighter and, a paramedic or a whole lot of families that are still struggling and we want to stay in Hawaii, but would be able to provide assistance to, and I'm open to discussion in committee on what's an appropriate AMI level to include, but really want to mahalo Budget Chair Cordero for her leadership on this particular measure and all the other measures as well. So, mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have a problem with all of these measures moving forward on first reading, and I trust the committees for robust discussions. But just briefly, relating to wheelies, I concur with Senator Favela that at the end of the day, our continuing challenges with regard to the manpower on the streets of HPD is, of course, one avenue of addressing not just this, but a lot of the challenges we face. And I think that that needs to also be a priority for all of us, not just HPD. I do know that the administration's emphasis on, those coming in, the bonuses for recruits is commendable. I hope that we could work on areas to help those who are retiring to see if they could stay on longer. On the voter vehicle registration, Bill 62, I do have concerns, share the concerns of others who believe if you're going to have this, what about many of our community are hurting? So during that committee hearing, I hope to have discussion on the overall rates for that, as well as for all kupuna. And then on the down payments, Bill 64, I look forward to this discussion. I do believe if it goes beyond what the services of the city is, which is a lower AMI, I welcome it because it is the higher AMI who are leaving Hawaii. A lot of those people, we're looking at ways to help. This would be one way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Councilmember Wire.
Oh, I just wanted to add, because it came up, that also support Councilmember Tupola's suggestion on adding additional stunts. And I guess just the request that Transportation Committee would be maybe in the subsections if possible, or some mechanism to maintain the specificity to the extent that it's useful for officers to have, specific things to cite, right? To just transition into court when they're looking at the citation. And then just to note also on the wheelie, and wanted to just throw it out there because I think I generally agree with the senator, just that the intent certainly wasn't to add an additional burden to HPD. Given that reckless driving applies to a lot of conduct that's much broader, the goal really was to provide another tool in the toolkit that doesn't just kind of starts to, there's so much more we need to be doing with e-bikes and other activities. So just wanted to throw that out so there's a mutual understanding.
Thank you, members. We're on page 7 of 30, and I know a lot of people here are waiting to testify on Bill 64 and 46, so I'd like to take the vote now. Any objections or reservations for any of the first reading items?
Reservations on 61, please, Chair.
Reservations for Councilmember Okimoto on 61. Councilmember Tolba.
Reservations on 64.
Noting Councilmember Tolba's reservations for 64. Anybody else? Thank you, members. First reading items on page 6 and 7 of the agenda have passed first reading. Members, moving to page 8 from the Committee on Zoning, Councilmember Say.
Mr. Chair, I move that committee report number 338 be adopted. Bill 58, committee draft 1 as amended, pass second reading.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Councilmember Say for the explanation.
The explanation is simply relating to how Oahu is building code.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers? On Bill 58.
Mr. Chair, we have Gina Thielen. I don't know if she's in person or standing by remotely.
Gina Thielen, yes. Aloha, welcome.
Aloha, Chair Waters, Vice Chair Kia Aina, and members of the council. My name is Gina Thielen, and I would like to actually change my testimony to comments. I was under the mistaken impression that this was the third reading of this bill, so we had kind of hit the panic button on this issue, and I think we have a little more time to deal with it. I am here to testify in 2 of my volunteer capacities, and I'm not sure which one I'm being called for first, so I'll start with the Building Board of Appeals. I've served on the Building Board of Appeals for 1.5 years. I'm here to testify as an individual, not on behalf of the board in its entirety. We've had many discussions where we've talked about our ability to be an effective board, and we feel that we're somewhat hamstrung by the language that is now being considered for renewal in this bill. Specifically, that we can only modify decisions if we find legally that they're based on an erroneous finding of material fact, arbitrary or capricious decision-making, or a manifest abuse of discretion. This is a really high bar to meet, and we have a lot of people that are coming to us looking for our help, and we are unable to provide them any sort of relief. It's entirely up to this council to decide what they want this board to do, but I believe the reason you picked a contractor instead of a lawyer is you want people to use their discretion and their knowledge to come to decisions that benefit the people of Hawaii while protecting the built environment. Based on that, I'm happy to answer any questions on my first testimony.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Thank you.
May I move to the second one, or do I wait to get called again?
You want to testify on Bill 59?
No, 58. I signed up twice because I'm also here in my role as the chair of the BIA Codes Committee.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay, thank you. So there's an old bit of language that's also in this bill that hasn't been a problem in the past, and essentially it says that work must be done in accordance with the approved construction documents that you get at the time of permit, and that any changes made during construction require resubmittal for a new permit. Historically, this was left to the discretion of building inspectors, and only when something rose to the level of needing review, they would refer us back. What happened was about 3 years ago, a policy was instituted called the zero tolerance policy, and what that meant was that any change, you change the swing of a door, you change and add some cabinets, anything, you've got to come back in and get your building permit reviewed. Some other volunteers with myself worked with the then deputy director, and we came up with a list of requirements that would trigger this re-review, but that has since been abandoned, and we're now back to a zero tolerance situation. So we're just hoping to have the opportunity to put some common sense language into this law in this section that defines when we really need to use the staff's time at DPP to re-review a project. Thank you.
Thank you, well said. And look forward to working with you between second and third reading. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on Bill 58 CD1? Seeing none, members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, I want to thank Ms. Thielen for her comments and as well just always being so vigilant on these issues. I personally didn't understand until I read through some of that testimony. I'll be going reservations today until things are kind of amended and made sure that this is something that's going to help the building industry and construction in Hawaii and not hinder us, because we can't have that right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further testimony or discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Tauba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Reservations.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 338 has been adopted and Bill 58 CD1 has passed second reading. Moving to the bottom of page 8 from the Committee on Housing, Sustainability and Health, Councilmember Wire.
I move that Committee Report 349 and Bill 59 CD1 relating to plastic as amended be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Wire for the explanation.
Relating to plastic.
Thank you so much. I believe we have a number of registered testifiers, starting with Natalie Iwasa, followed by J.B. Helekahi and Janelle Bell.
Thank you, Chair, Council members. Natalie Wassa for the record. I oppose this bill. As you know, this would apply to single-use plastic bottles that are sold on city facilities and by permittees, that type of thing. And, you know, I think you would find that most people agree that our trash is a big issue, especially now that we're looking for a landfill. But banning products is not the way to do it, because people change their behaviors. I mean, people are still going to want water. They're still going to want soda, juice, whatever. And so there's going to be a different holder instead of just a plastic bottle. What I would like to see, and what I think is a much better solution, is for the city to help support organizations such as Reuse Hawaii. They take products, you know, the lumber and that kind of thing from houses and put it for sale. They reuse it. I see so many things along the roadway that are still usable, and it's really sad to think that it just ends up in the landfill. So I think that would be a much better, more impactful thing for the city to do than just this little banning of those few bottles that are sold here on city facilities. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Iwaso? Seeing none. Next, J.B. Helekahi. Aloha, welcome.
Aloha, council members. My name is JB Helekahi. I've been manufacturing PET bottles as an employee for Pacific Allied Products for more than 16 years. And I stand before you in strong opposition to Bill 59. I share your concerns for protecting our environment and reducing waste, but I believe this bill would have unintended consequences for the people of our state, particularly the workers and businesses. I feel this bill jeopardizes the livelihoods of more than 1,200 employees in the manufacturing and distribution industries. It's not just faceless corporations out there, it's hardworking individuals like myself, my team members that I have with me today, your neighbors, friends, families, who rely on these jobs to support themselves and their loved ones. I feel this bill would also unfairly burden low-income families who rely on affordable beverage options. Many of the proposed alternatives are significantly more expensive. And that will put additional financial strain on those who are already struggling with the high cost of living. To add to that, shifting to glass and aluminum would also increase shipping weights, energy consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, and that will all negatively impact the overall sustainability goals for our state. Instead, we should focus on strengthening and expanding recycling initiatives to improve waste management and environmental outcomes. So I urge you to carefully just consider the broader impact this bill will have. Let's work together to find solutions that balance environmental responsibility and economic and social well-being. Let's strengthen recycling systems like I know they're doing now in the Big Island. And most importantly, promote public education about waste reduction. So vote no, so I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the testifier? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And 100% appreciate the sentiment because I think the intention is definitely to preserve local jobs. I just had two questions. I think one was, do you know what percentage of your product is in city facilities? Or what percentage of what you produce? I'm just curious because I don't know. So that's what I was...
Top of my head, I don't know. Right now.
Okay. And then I think this last point, I know we have limited time, was if your company had talked about, approaching the council about maybe some type of real property tax exemption like we did for the film studio to try to increase, aluminum can, for example, manufacturing. Because like you said, the energy going into bottles is less, but of course we know the recycling energy on cans is a lot less than bottles and the impact. So I was just curious if that came up at all in discussions, because I know I brought it up in some of the meetings with stakeholders that came to our office. So I wasn't sure if they shared that more broadly or had mentioned that was something the council would be willing to discuss.
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah, let's have lunch.
So yeah, sounds good. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next, we have Janelle Bell, followed by Joseph Chai. Aloha, welcome.
Aloha, my name is Janelle Bell. I'm here today on behalf of Pacific Allied Products. I've been with them for about 5 years now, and I'm asking you to say no to Bill 59. It will affect more people than you know. More locals will be put out of jobs. Low-income families will have more hard time affording beverages. Single parents, such as myself, won't be able to support my children losing my job because of this bill. It's bad enough that rent is already so high, 3 times the income as your rent. Who can afford that as a single parent? So again, I'm asking you to please say no to Bill 59. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Bell? Seeing none, next we have Joseph Chai, followed by David Thorpe. Hello, Mr. Chai.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Joseph Chai, Pacific Allied Products. I've been there for about 10 years now, almost 10 years, and I oppose the Bill 59. To me, this bill opens a gateway to a larger issue for our future. This will cost us our jobs, and the cost of living will go up. We already are overwhelmed by prices in Hawaii. In today's society, education is the first step in solving issues, and that's what I wholeheartedly believe in. We need to put awareness out there and gather our communities to be stronger, so we can unite and be as one. I humbly ask you to vote no on Bill 59. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Members, any questions for Mr. Chai? Seeing none, thank you. Next, we have David Thorpe, followed by Garen Abe.
Chair Waters, members of the council, I'm David Thorpe with the American Beverage Association. I represent the non-alcoholic beverage industry here in Hawaii and their 1,200 employees. Looking back to 2019 when Bill 40 passed, that banned single-use plastics such as plastic straws, utensils, and bags which have no value and are not recyclable. PET beverage containers are not single-use. They're 100% recyclable, including the cap. We actually include a message on the cap saying recycled bottle with the cap on. PET is the most recyclable and recycled plastic in the country. That's why we use it for our beverages. They're made to be remade into new bottles, carpet, clothing, and more. Just a few facts to share. PET beverage containers are collected by the city curbside and the state high five program. So the city and the state recognize the value in collecting these to be made into new bottles and other products. You'll hear that the recycling rate for plastics is 9%. That is true for all plastics. The recycling rate for these containers on Oahu through the curbside and through High Five is 49%. So they are being collected here on Oahu. It takes energy to make any bottle or can. PET plastic water bottles are actually more sustainable option than other containers. PET produces significantly less greenhouse gas emissions thanks to its lightweight properties, and PET requires lower energy for production than aluminum cans. So if you ban these lightweight, locally produced PET, for example, water bottles, you need an alternative. Aluminum cans of water are not produced locally. These are. So full cans of water will have to be shipped in from the mainland, result in dramatic increase in costs as well as an increased carbon footprint from the shipping. I purchased some beverages. There's choices in the vending machines. I purchased these beverages downstairs. This PET locally produced water bottle costs $1.50. This aluminum can costs $5. So more than 3 times the amount of this bottle. And beginning next year, there'll be a new facility in the state where all these bottles will be collected, reprocessed, and made into new bottles. So truly creating a circular economy for these bottles here. Finally, banning PET beverage containers in like Blaisdell, the zoo, city parks, beaches, and golf courses are in public places where consumers' preference is often a resealable container. So a PET ban will not result in sustainability improvements, but it will result in negative financial impacts on city contracts and increased costs for consumers. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Mr. Thorpe? Thank you, sir. Next, we have Garen Abe.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, Council members. My name is Gavin Abe, and I'm Administrator at Ho'opono Services for the Blind, a branch of Department of Human Services, testifying on behalf of our Director, Ryan Yamane. We appreciate the intent of the bill and the exemption for our licensed blind vendors within our city and county buildings. We stand by written testimony and here available for any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abe. Members, any questions for the testifier? Thank you. Next, we have Don Sakamoto, followed by Tina Yamaki. Mr. Clerk, is Mr. Sakamoto available?
Mr. Chair, the testifier is not responding.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Sorry about that. Good morning, Chair Waters, Vice Chair Kayana, and rest of the council members. Donald Sakamoto, Kaneohe resident. I listened to the testifiers against, and I agree with that. I'm changing my testimony from comments to against because, as Augie Toba, council member, said in the previous meetings, committee meetings, it's going to cost a lot of money as well as burden for persons like myself who are fixed income. But, you know, I agree that these bottles can be reused and made into maybe a 2x4 or 4x4, so I can use that to fix my fences instead of having the termites eat my lumber. But I think recycling would be a best way to do it, and I oppose Bill 59 with these explanations. So I hope you agree with that. Thank you for letting me testify. Aloha.
Thank you, Mr. Sakamoto. Next, we have Tina Yamaki.
Aloha, Chair Waters and members of the Honolulu City Council. I'm Tina Yamaki with the Retail Merchants of Hawaii, and I appreciate this opportunity to testify on Bill 59. While we understand the City and County of Honolulu's want to ban single plastic bottle drinks in their facilities, our concern is that it will expand to include all of Oahu. Plastic bottles play a crucial role in ensuring access to safe drinking water, particularly during emergencies and natural disasters. We have to have availability of portable, durable water containers. We also remember that unlike the mainland, we cannot truck water in from a tri-state area. You know, we didn't anticipate also having economic disparities across our state. And while the intent of the ban is to reduce waste, environmental benefits are not guaranteed. Producing alternatives like glass and aluminum bottles require significantly more energy and resources, resulting in a larger carbon footprint. Without adequate recycling facilities, these could contribute to more waste than mitigate it. Moreover, plastic bottles are already included in Hawaii's High Five redemption program, incentivizing recycling and reducing litter. It is our understanding that most of the plastic bottles are made from PET and is also able to be recycled. And a ban could also disrupt this program without ensuring comparable environmental gains. We need to be looking into comprehensive litter reduction programs that not only consider educating the public, but also looking at alternative solutions like public trash cans that are designated so it will keep contents from flying out. Bans are not the simple answer. A ban on single-use plastic bottles would impose significant economic, public health, and environmental challenges while failing to address the root cause of plastic waste efficiently. We need to maintain a fair balance regarding plastic bottles and containers and look at a coordinated litter reduction program. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Mahalo, Tina, for your testimony. I do really respect and appreciate the work that you're doing. I just wanted to clarify because I know you noted. So I'm hearing, so you're saying it's not necessarily the size of the market that's actually affected, but you're afraid that this could open the door to island-wide ban. Is that the main concern? Yeah. No rush. I know you're muted and maybe trying to.
Okay, sorry.
I just heard you reference that specific language, so I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Yeah, we're concerned that it starts off at maybe city facilities, but the end of the bill, it could extend to all of Oahu, and that's where our main concern is. Especially since, we're not like the mainland where we can truck water in or truck things in. To fly in larger bottles, or especially those that are in metal or aluminum containers or glass, it's a lot expensive to do. And especially if first responders, I'm sure they don't want to be carrying a 2-liter bottle around with them. They want to drink it, get rid of it, and go on doing their emergency prep work and things like that. And also, too, when we give out to those, who are in need, it's usually single bottles for their lunches or whatever when we provide.
Yeah, mahalo for that clarification. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Yamaki? Seeing none, thank you. Next, we have Lauren Zerbel, Hawaii Food Industry Association.
Mr. Chair, the testifier is not logged on.
Okay, is Alexis Chapman available?
Mr. Chair, that testifier is not logged on either.
Okay, is Christian Bihik, Pacific Allied Products, available?
Present. Can you hear me?
Hello, welcome.
Hi, good morning, council members. My name is Christian Bihik. I'll be testifying on behalf of Bill 59. So I've been working at Pacific Allied Products for 16 years in the PET division. As a father of 4, working 2 jobs, make ends meet, I stand in opposition to Bill 59. This bill would directly affect the livelihoods of many friends and coworkers that I have come to call family. It is already a struggle trying to survive in a place of born and raised. Bill 59 would leave a lot of us out of work. A straight-out ban on PET plastics and its misguided representation on single plastic use would be a step in a wrong direction, in my opinion. I believe better planning of providing informational resources for recycling would be a better step for our community. I just asked if you guys can vote no for Bill 59. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Mr. Latif? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And mahalo for the testimony. I just wanted to clarify, because make sure I was hearing you correctly, because I know you mentioned you didn't want an all-out ban. So but you do understand that the bill itself would apply only to what's sold at city facilities or in city partnerships, or were you still opposed to that? think we may have lost the testifier chair, so
Are you there, Mr. Bohik?
Yes, I am. Sorry about that. Could you please repeat that?
yeah, and I just want to make sure I was hearing you correctly so I could properly evaluate your testimony. So I know you said you were opposed or concerned about an all-out ban, so I just wanted to make sure, given that this bill is only talking about city facilities or city partnerships, is that your understanding of the bill as well, or were you reading it as an all-out ban?
It had to deal with it being inside of city places.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, mahalo for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bohik. Next, we have Lily Ortiz, followed by Colleen Hokutan.
Aloha, council members. My name is Lily Ortiz, and I thank you for the opportunity to voice my concerns on Bill 59. I've been an employee of Pacific Allied Products for over 10 years, and I urge you to please vote no on Bill 59. Bill 59 jeopardizes the livelihood of the local communities employed in manufacturing and the distribution of PET plastic bottles in Hawaii. Hardworking individuals like myself, my fellow workers, friends, and family are very concerned about the future economy of Hawaii. We rely on these jobs to support our families and contribute to our local economy. Bill 59 will also have a negative impact for employment for future generations. Eliminating PET will drive up costs for consumers, businesses, putting additional hardship on local community who are already struggling to live here. PET plastic bottles are essential and are widely used for their safety and recyclability. Many of the proposed alternatives, as you've heard previously in the testimony, is that they are significantly more expensive. We need to work together to strengthen and expanding recycling initiatives. We also need to focus on promoting public education to improve waste management. The concern is that this bill is a gateway to lead to future bans on the island. So we need to work together. And again, I urge you to vote no on Bill 59. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Next, we have Colleen Hokutan, followed by Nick Doyle.
Aloha. Sorry, I'm trying to get my camera on, but so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Okay. Aloha. My name is Colleen Hokutan, and I am a retired DOE teacher. I speak on behalf of Holomoe Elementary's First Lego League Robotics team, and we are in support of Bill 59. I represent today 10 sixth graders who wanted to participate today, but they couldn't be here because they had to be in school. This year, they researched the problem of ocean acidification and learned about Bill 59. They learned that the manufacturing process, not just the bottles itself, but the manufacturing process for plastic bottles emits 8.8 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions each year, which is a leading cause of ocean acidification. And this acidification of our oceans will eventually kill all our coral reefs and other marine life and affect our food chain. And this is already happening in our world today. They have also learned, and I think this was the most disturbing find that they found, is that this will happen within their lifetime. Maybe not our lifetime as adults, but within our children's lifetime, if nothing is done to deal with the production and use of single-use plastics, we will be robbing them of an ocean to enjoy, an ocean that I'm born and raised here, an ocean that we've enjoyed growing up, fishing, swimming. Whatever reservations you may have against Bill 59, is it more important than leaving the legacy of our oceans? Please on behalf of our keiki, keep Bill 59 alive for future discussions. You have the power to work together. Everybody work together to make Bill 59 successful for all of us. Thank you for your leadership and the opportunity to share today. I again am speaking on behalf of Holomua's Aqua Avengers, 6th graders, and we just thank you for the time. Aloha.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Hokutan? Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair. I just wanted to say thank you to you and especially for the kids for wanting to participate in this process. You know, when we go to discussion, I'm going to be making some strong comments against the bill, and I'm going to clarify that PET is not a single use, but I do want to invite your class to come to my district. Everything recycling happens in Campbell Industrial, which is in my district. I would love to show them. I've done recycling, cleaning, cleanups across my community for the past 10 years. I would love to show your kids every single recycling unit that I have in my district and also allow them to ask questions. I love that they want to be a part of the process. I don't want to discourage them, but part of us finding the best solutions moving forward is to have these kind of conversations and learning opportunities. So please thank the children on our behalf.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Any further discussion or questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you. Members, next moving on to Nick Boyle.
Good morning, everybody. Aloha, my name is Nick Doyle, co-founder of Maloma One Recycling. My background entails over a decade of developing, designing, and building recycling systems, and I appreciate the opportunity to testify today in opposition of the single-use PET beverage container ban, Bill 59. But before I begin, I do want to thank everybody that has testified before me. And I do want to say that plastic pollution is a serious threat, but addressing it through short-term bans is not the answer. Contrary to perception, PET beverage containers have a significantly lower embodied carbon footprint compared to alternatives such as glass and aluminum. 100% post-consumer recycled PET beverage bottles, offer the single lowest environmental footprint of all packaging types. But the reality is that all plastics are not created equal when it comes to their contributions to pollution. But microplastic pollution from PET and recycled PET bottles accounts for less than 0.5% and are minimal compared to the major contributors like textiles at 35% and tire wear at 28%. And this does also not take into account the consideration of the availability of local recycling infrastructure, which, pending in 2025 through the launch of Maloma One's recycling facility, this facility will provide Hawaii with the infrastructure required to close the loop on PET in the state and achieve a 90% recycling and diversion rate of all PET plastics within the next 24 months. The waste pollution problem lies not in the material itself, but rather in the lack of guiding policies and access to local infrastructure used to activate our communities around recycling. Reinforcing Hawaii's existing and successful high-five bottle bill with waste diversion and recycling-centric policies such as the recyclables landfill ban and extended producer responsibility will create pathways for Hawaii to realize its goals in environmental preservation, health, resource independence, and economic resilience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Mr. Doyle? Seeing none, thank you, sir. That concludes the registered testifiers. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to testify on Bill 59, CD1? Senator Favela, aloha.
Thank you, Chair, council members. I'm against this bill. I don't think as a city, not you guys' problem, you guys came after. We don't actually have a recycling bill law. If we had a recycling law and a more stricter law in recycling all products, including the caps on the bottles itself, R&R don't take those. And how I know, because I was a refuse inspector that used to go there, and when they used to have those caps, it would damage the machine. So it never really recycled anything. With those bottles that is going into recycling, that's one of the most best thing to do to burn it for reusable energy. So these bottles is not causing, in a sense of what we are saying on a 1 cent use in a city, it's not gonna help the state by going with aluminum. And don't get me wrong, I was with Senator Gabbard in pushing for all aluminum water containers. But as we went and did the research, it's going to cost the state and the consumers way more money to have the aluminum. In my community, our houseless and our elders rather carry plastic bottles to than aluminum and glass because it's lighter, easier to get recycled than carrying black glass bottles and aluminum cans. So those are the things that you got to consider. The guys who are using this now as a revenue in recycling and helping assess with their income, or even buying food for a day by recycling these plastic bottles, is going to do more harmful than good. I'm not for banning everything all the time. I wasn't the one wanting to ban straws because somebody was shoving straw in some turtle's nose and they said the turtle was floating and accidentally got stuck in his nose. You guys know that never happened. Because it always go ahead, the big picture here is somebody wants to make money. Just look at all the bills and everything that we go through and the taxes when we want to ban something. It doesn't help the consumer. Yes, I want to save the planet, but for who? If we cannot live here and afford to live here on planet. So this is the thing. I'm all for protecting the INA and protecting our people, but then how are the people going to survive? How are we going to survive? So again, I'm against this, and I just hope you guys don't pass this, Bill 59. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Any other testifiers from the audience? Aloha, please proceed.
Aloha, my name is Hannah Lilly. I am the Hawaii Regional Manager for Surfrider Foundation, a national nonprofit organization dedicated to the protection and enjoyment of our ocean waves and beaches. The Surfrider Foundation has advocated for plastic pollution reduction laws for over a decade now through our plastic pollution initiatives. I offer my testimony in support of Bill 5924 on behalf of the Surfrider Oahu chapter. I'd like to address a few key points from our written testimony today. Reality is, plastic products cannot be safely discarded, and the recycling industry will not keep plastic out of landfills and won't solve the plastic pollution crisis. Recycling as a solution nationwide is not only reactive, but is largely a myth spread by large fossil fuel companies like ExxonMobil to allow continued production of plastic products. Even with recycling programs in place, less than 5% of our plastic is recycled nationwide into another product, despite recyclable labeling. On account of a massive cover-up to mislead the public to believe in plastic recycling, Surfrider Foundation has filed a lawsuit with ExxonMobil that is linked in our testimony. I encourage you all to look at that. Here in Hawaii, the High Five Redemption Program sends recyclables almost exclusively to the mainland and to California. In 2019 alone, Hawaii shipped nearly 36 million pounds of recyclables to California. Hawaii Department of Health only keeps track of the first leg of recyclable transport, meaning that once it reaches its destination, we have little assurance that any of our plastic is actually being recycled. This information and the backdrop of our recent lawsuit exposing big oil corporations hiding the truth of plastic recycling paints a dismal situation to the amount of plastic pollution coming out of Hawaii. The Surfrider Oahu chapter supports this bill for the following reasons. 1, Bill 59 takes proactive measures to turn off the plastic tap by targeting a significant category of plastic pollution in county facilities, single-use plastic bottles. The impacts from plastic reliance are not worth the historical and continued damage they have caused for the sake of convenience and fitting into a plastic-dependent economy. Policy banning single-use plastic in county facilities is not unprecedented in Hawaii. Kauai County has implemented a comprehensive disposable plastic policy as of January 2021 that prohibits the purchase, use, and sale of disposable plastics with county funds at county permitted events by county employees or county facility users, along with banning disposable straws, cutlery, and containers. 3, single-use plastic beverage bottles and caps are consistently one of the top 10 items collected at litter cleanups. And 4, the sale of plastic bottles generates avoidable greenhouse gas emissions throughout the process, from extraction of oil to manufacturing, from transportation to disposal. Each of these steps generates emissions. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on Bill 59? Please come forward. Aloha and welcome. Please proceed.
I'll know for next time. I'm actually here for Bill 64, but my name is Elizabeth Rago. I'm testifying pro Bill 59. I didn't realize it was up today, but just to underscore again that I want to be on record that I agree with the woman who just testified from Surfrider Foundation. I hope the council does pass Bill 59. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify? Seeing none, members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Tolba, followed by
Chair.
Councilmember Wire.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Chair. No vote for me. Like I stated in committee, I believe this measure has unintended consequences. When we banned plastic bags, utensils, and containers, it led to an increased cost for the average person. I would prefer we support measures that help us recycle more sustainably without significantly increasing the costs to our businesses and residents. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Wire, I forgot to call on two people who had their hands up. You mind if I take them first?
Of course, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, please proceed.
Aloha mai kako, Africa ke ono madaris po ino no waina mai ao mahalo Chair Tommy Waters and all council members. As a mahiai or a farmer to the po'e hale that don't understand what we're saying, I love this intent of this bill, but I gotta be in opposition of it because a ban won't work. We need to go back to the ways that we were taught, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle. There's better ways to do things in Hawaii. I've been waiting 14 months for my little blue bin out in Waianae. It's like waiting on a Hawaiian homes list. It probably will never happen. It's pretty sad to say. But there's better ways of doing things. We've seen what happened with the plastic bag ban, right? The businesses made more money by selling bags. Now, how many people have Target bags in their trunk? How many people, Malama Aina like myself, and find these bags all over as well? So it's more about education than anything, And I'm sorry for the teacher that's with her students because I'm all about the keiki. I love seeing the keiki up on the Aina, Malama Aina, and understanding Aina because that's what we're doing. You know what I mean? I understand Surfrider Foundation. I've been a part of numerous events where we Malama our kai, our ocean. But banning something like this will not stop the problem. It'll continue in different ways. It always does. And I understand Councilmember Wire's, point of saying it's only in city places, but it starts there and it trickles down. That's what happens here. We just need to teach people how to do things better, how to recycle better, how to compost, how to be more sustainable, how to use less, right? Use what you need. That's how we learn as Kanaka Mole. Eat what you have and appreciate that. It's the same concept throughout life, So mahalo to everybody out there. I understand on the business side of things. I understand on the people who are activists and appreciate the Aina that we call Hawaii and everything it has to offer and want to keep it clean. But there is better ways. As a farmer, we teach the people that come into the Aina how to be sustainable, how to malama, and how to appreciate things. That's why we talk about water catchment. You know what I mean? We instill things that are better for our people to ensure that our future generations don't suffer like how we're suffering. Where we got to find a location to put a landfill that's only going to cause more problems when we can actually do better by educating the people about how to be more sustainable and do those 3 R's, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle. It's very simple, and it goes for everything in life. So mahalo for you guys' time. Hope you guys have a beautiful, blessed day. Aloha.
Thank you, Mr. Medeiros. I believe we have one more remote testifier, Mr. Clerk.
Aloha, Matt Lopresti testifying in favor of this bill. First, I'd like to state if I could present my testimony in Honolulu, Hawaii, I would. It is my own shortcoming that I can't and that I need translations for that lovely language. I strongly support this measure because, as the previous speaker said, we do need to look at more recycle, reduce, reuse, recycle. But frankly, recycling isn't working as it should in Hawaii. It costs more to recycle here. A lot of the things that we would recycle actually get burned in H-power. And as the previous speakers noted, we have no real data on what happens to the stuff that we think we are recycling. Furthermore, recycling is not enough. even if it was all recycled, as the elementary school testifier had eloquently stated, the production of plastics is extremely harmful to the environment. As usual, what we have, from my experience in state and local government, whenever there's a bill in favor of helping the environment, we have a lot of fear-mongering. Nobody's going to lose their job because you can't have a plastic water bottle at the Blaisdell. That's of course fear-mongering. At the end of the day, we see in these kinds of bills people coming out of the woodwork to support the businesses who make money off of this. And it's really a simple equation of, do you support those who profit off of pollution, or do you support the planet and a clean environment? I commend the introducers of this bill. I think it's very important to begin to establish a beachhead of saying where we can't use these sorts of items, because it's just a small area and that can help change the culture. So previous speakers have spoken about how we need to teach people to be more responsible. This is a great way to do that, to say you have to use different kinds of containers, reusable containers. So we need to reduce, we need to focus on reduction, and we need to focus on reuse, and recycling just ain't cutting it anymore. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Okay, back to discussion. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And I'll be concise and brief, but knowing we don't know where this bill is going to go today, I might just kind of lay out everything. So I think we're all on the same page because we were talking, with the testifiers, and I appreciate the questions that came in and all the discussion. I think, at least on my part, appreciate your leadership on this as well, Councilmember Waters, or Chair Waters. I anticipated it being pretty low-hanging fruit in the sense that some high schooler or middle schoolers or elementary sixth graders had come to us and asked us to consider getting plastic bottles out of city facilities, concessions, and of course, sponsored events for sale. So it doesn't affect sports teams, moms bringing bottled water. Doesn't affect the bottled water you buy at like Costco or Seafood City or Foodland or wherever you go. It doesn't affect a lot of things, and it seemed like a very simple step because at the end of the day, Mayor Kawakami, as was mentioned, did it on his own. But of course, we're the legislature, so we don't have authority over the executive branch's contracts. So this is how we would just say, hey, as a city, let's contract this way and not have single-use plastic bottles. The way it's crafted now, I think, is the compromise. And so that's why I was kind of surprised by the testimony, because I don't usually do much for a show, because I know we talked about people bringing in stuff, but when someone had the bottles, and at last committee it came up about how we're worried about price and what's going to be in the vending machines. I mean, in reality, these are the compromise, because advocates are saying, get rid of them, right? The state has introduced a statewide ban multiple years in a row. Of course, using a bottle, a metal bottle, right, or a reusable bottle is the ideal way to consume water. But the bill as it's written is just city leading by an example, and still allows for all these products a lot of people don't like. And so that's why I'm kind of confused, because even these aren't perfect. And without diving into all the science, right, like, yeah, glass is more expensive to move around because it's heavier, has an indefinite recyclability period. It withholds, and the impurities don't contaminate or degrade it, right? Cans, more energy go in, but less energy for the actual recycling. Cheaper, right? And so, I mean, when we conflate the information, I get concerned a little bit, but I understand everyone's there to advocate for their interest, and so that's fair. But just wanted to point out that as policymakers, I don't want to, for me, it's like I'm not going to go around and replicate or say what's, maybe not what the data says. So just wanted to point out that there's different ways to look at it, right, in terms of impact. But really in the large scope of things, some youth came to us and asked the city to stop selling plastic bottles. And they did research on acid acidification, and we see the impacts on our oceans. I mean, the science is extremely clear that we have microplastics in our bone marrow, in our reproductive organs, in our lungs, in our hearts. And more recent research shows that it's 20 times as much in our brain, right? This is the National Institute for Health. And that in looking at studies that have looked at deceased folks with dementia have found much higher levels of microplastics. And so it's not going away. And when we're talking about our youth saying this is what we're facing, I just feel like this is such a minor step. Like, it's so small just to ask the city, hey, can you guys stop selling single-use plastic bottles? You know, and of course, like I mentioned, like if folks want to do manufacturing for cans locally, we have local water. And if folks want to do that, I'm open. I can't speak for my colleagues, but happy to do like a tax relief bill like we're doing for the film studio to bring these products here so we have more local manufacturing, just like we're thinking about on ag, right? And so just wanted to share that, because I definitely wouldn't pay $5 for a bottle of water. So I'm 100% with you on that. Yeah, I mean, I went to Safeway, Foodland, you know, so it's not just like like Whole Foods. I love Whole Foods, but it's not just at the bougie like supermarkets. Like I hadn't seen all these types. I'm walking out, and I'm almost done, Chair, but like, you know, walking out, standing in line, you know, one of the stores, that auntie next to me is like, oh, you know, are you sampling the water? And I explained to her what we're doing, and she's like, oh yeah, like we definitely need to do that. And then the cashier one was like asking, and I explained the whole bill and what we're talking about, and she's like, oh, we definitely need, I mean, her only one concern was that the metal ones at concerts, when people throw the water up in the air, you want to be careful, but it's like you can do that with the box, you know, but of course that's a very unique circumstance. But, you know, she thought it was a good idea. So I guess I just want to share that I don't see this as particularly controversial given the severity of what we're facing, and happy to support from the city side for folks that want to transition to plastic. You know, I think we've heard a lot about how we want to keep plastic, and I'm saying I don't oppose hurting business. I don't want to hurt businesses. So if you guys want to transition to more sustainable products, like I would support giving you tax relief. Like, let's do it. We can make it happen. We can pay for it. Because if it's going to benefit our youth that are going to have to live with these impacts beyond us, just like our youth that are going to have to live with the dangers above our aquifer, like I'm all in on trying to lay a pathway for the next generations and 7 generations and beyond, because that's why we're here. That's the responsibility we have. And I have a responsibility to my community as the one with access to information, right? Access to data, the ability to call different departments in, talk to them, learn about stuff. You know, I have a responsibility to report back to them. Like, yeah, I listen and take their feedback, and then I have a responsibility, feel a responsibility to report back. This is what the impact is on our community. This is how plastic is affecting our health, and have a conversation about that. So appreciate the time. I know it's lengthy, so I apologize, but definitely hope folks can support. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Tupola, followed by Okimoto.
Thank you so much, Chair. I think the introducer, and of course, like I said, I think the kids for being a part of wanting to get involved. I think we always want everyone to get involved. That's how we make good policy. We want communities to be heard. And I also have a responsibility to my community. My community is the one with the landfills and all the previous landfills. I have all of the recycling places in Campbell Industrial, and I visit them. I know what they do. I've seen their operations. I've been doing cleanups for 10 years. Malama Kai, Malama Aina, Malama Honua, all of these things that I do on a regular basis to Aloha Aina with my community is because I understand these things. So I'm just gonna quickly explain this, and everyone, including the kids at Holomua, I'll bring them over so they can see. This is literally what a form looks like, and this is the form that is created into this bottle right here. This is manufactured in my district. Yeah, this one right here, and it's PET, and this very bottle is probably recycled up to 5 different times and brought back, as many times as we want. And then when it's done and it's actually taken to a recycle facility, it turns into these little pellets. And then what do these pellets do? They're turned back into this. And then what happens? It's turned back into this. And then what do? They turn it back into this. So I have one more organization in my community called Ball Corporation, and Ball makes this. Ball Corporation makes aluminum cans, but not these. They don't make the cap one. So Ball makes all of the ones that have the crack open one, right? This one right here is the one that we would have to ship in from outside of Hawaii to come here. And I can't be supporting businesses outside of Hawaii before I support the ones here, because all those guys that work at Pacific Allied Products as well as Bell Corporation, they're all from the West Side. Everybody working Campbell Industrial, most of them are from the West Side. And this one, the PET that they talked about, you know, over time, they've gotten better and better at it. And as Councilmember Wires said, there's 3 times more energy that's used to create this than this, but also the recycling is different too. I gave a little handout to everyone so they can read it for themselves, but there's pros and cons to both of it. But I will say this. This one right here, and I wish we did it on our island, is actually going to start to have a closed loop circuit because Waiakea Water is building a recycling facility on Hawaii. And I will say Surfrider Foundation got a few of those points right, which is that most of our recycling we have to take off island. Waiakea Water is going to build one in Hilo. And then from there, all of these will all stay in Hawaii, so we never have to have anybody importing any of this to Hawaii anymore. And so I am speaking on behalf of my community who, yes, does have jobs out there, but also the industry has progressed. We got to get with technology. We got to increase our learning to it. I mean, we should be pushing towards no more landfills, towards zero waste. We should be pushing towards these recycling efforts, but also I think the way that we push towards there is not through a ban. And so I am opposing this bill, but I do really applaud the council member. I honestly agree with him on a lot of the points that he said, but I feel like this is not the way to go. So thank you for your time, and thank you for everyone on both sides of the bill who testified.
Thank you. Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. I also want to thank those who came to testify on both sides to share their opinions. And I do want to thank the introducers of this measure. I understand that there's always a well intent when doing so. And I appreciate listening to the future and the keiki who had submitted their input. But I do want to note that after hearing everything and being more knowledgeable and more educated, it does seem that there's many unintended consequences that will come from this ban. And I have stated, repeatedly that I am not in support of usual outright bans. I think there's some things that have been shared that we have already talked about are how this will impact our local businesses, local jobs. I think we really need to look at how we're treating our local businesses, because if we keep on making things harder for our local businesses, then it will be harder for them to survive and less likely for them to want to do business here on our island and in our state. I know that Tina Yamaki also shared that to ship water here is more expensive. So we have to be conscientious of how this will impact the end user, and that's us. And I can attest to, and I can agree with many who struggle every day. We have to be really conscientious of our finances and what we do. So I would feel like I wasn't listening to the testimonies if we didn't consider how this will affect our local residents. Another issue that I think hasn't been brought up. We came out of the pandemic, and I've talked about natural disasters in my personal life, having survived 2 hurricanes on Kauai. But when we talk about having the need or the access to water, really with emergency situations, that's another issue. We need quick access to portable water. So if we start doing things that will not damage or impede that or make it more difficult for us to access that type of water, it can become an issue when it comes to sanitation and health and the well-being of our communities. Like many have said, I agree that we should pursue a more robust recycling program, something that seeks to benefit and support our communities rather than punish them. We need to also educate our communities. I'm not sure if you guys know, but I learned recently that the city actually has a really good educational program called Opala Remix. They go into the schools. I was able to watch one of them in my district, and they really teach about reduce, reuse, and recycle, and they get the keiki involved, and they're teaching and educating what we can do. I really appreciate a lot of the testimonies that were shared that talked about this. I don't think that government should be mandating and telling people, if you choose to not have plastic, then that's your choice. And if you don't want to purchase it, that's your choice. We shouldn't be out here mandating or banning things. I think people can choose, and if that's your choice, then that you should do that, and you should have the right to do that. I firmly believe that. So I think that while the bill is well intended, and I had hope that we could see more education. I really would like to see the focus on the educational side of what we can do, and I think that there's opportunities. But I also will be voting in opposition at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Any discussion? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for everyone who's had further discussion. I'm in support of this bill because I know that people are worried about the repercussions down the line, but simply this is for city facilities and events. I do support that, and I would support that. I just support the intent of this bill. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion before we take the roll? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam? Aye. Councilmember Kia Aina? Councilmember Okimoto?
No.
Councilmember Say? No. Councilmember Talba?
No.
Councilmember Tupola?
No.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 4 ayes, 5 noes.
Thank you. CR 349 has failed to pass second reading. Members, moving on to page 9 from the Committee on Budget. Councilmember, excuse me. Pardon me, members, I've just been told that we've been having problems with access media. It is now 12:25. Perhaps it's a good time to take a break for lunch. I apologize to all the testifiers who have been waiting here patiently. But I'd like feedback from you all.
I concur.
Councilmember Kiaina?
I concur.
Councilmember Cordero?
So I agree. Thank you, Chair. I agree, but also I just want to ensure that if we do come back after the break, if we have to take the vote again, because I don't know if we're on Olelo.
Okay, I'll
Thank you.
confirm with the clerks whether or not Access Media picked up the vote. We're back on. Did you catch the vote? Mr. Clerk? We're okay. I'd like to take a few more matters if possible, but I'll defer to you all if you want to take a break now.
I would recommend through page 10.
Okay, can we go through page 10, members? Okay, we do have a 30-page agenda today. Let's go through page 10. So we're on page 9 from the Committee on Budget.
I move that Committee Report 356 be adopted and Bill 54, which amends Chapter 6 Revised Ordinances of Honolulu 2021 as amended relating to the Taxable General Improvement Bond Fund, pass second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Thank you, Councilmember Cordero, for the explanation. Do we have any testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam? Aye. Councilmember Kia Aina? Councilmember Okimoto? Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 356 has been adopted and Bill 54 has passed second reading. Moving to the top of page 10 from the Committee on Public Safety, Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Committee Report 330 be adopted and Bill 55 CD2 as amended pass third reading.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Councilmember Okimoto for the explanation.
Relating to the adoption of the 2021 State Fire Code, adopting the 2021 State Fire Code as adopted by the State of Hawaii on January 20, 2023, subject to certain amendments that shall apply to the City and County of Honolulu.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers.
Thank you. I do know, members, we do have representatives from the fire department here if you have any questions, or if you'd like to testify, I'll leave that up to you. But members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
I just want to thank the chair for incorporating our CD, working together on the fire code as I introduced a different bill, and it just ended up working well together. I also want to thank HFD. We met with various AOAOs and all of the high rises that have, pertain to the specific fire sprinkler code that was enacted many years ago here in the city. And so we're trying to get to a point where the law is written clearly and also that we have the resources to help these buildings and associations comply. So thank you again to the introducer of the bill and to HFD.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 330 has been adopted and Bill 55, CD2, has passed third reading. From the Committee on Housing, Sustainability, and Health, Councilmember Wire.
I move that Committee Report 348 be adopted and Bill 51, CD2 as amended, passed third reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Wire for the explanation.
Yeah, this is relating to adaptive reuse.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have 2 registered testifiers, Ted Cafalas and Evan Owe.
Okay. Mr. Cafalas, are you here?
I believe he's not logged on, Mr. Chair.
Okay, next we have Evan Owe.
Mr. Chair, apparently Evan Owe is also not logged on.
Okay, is there anybody else from the audience who'd like to testify on Bill 51? Seeing none, we're in discussion. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, thank you. I'll keep it very brief. I'm very grateful to my colleagues and yourself for moving this bill forward. It's been a long path to create a pathway for adaptive reuse, especially in the downtown area, but I really do believe that this is going to help to accelerate the revitalization of our downtown by creating a pathway to get some more apartment units in the downtown area and some of these existing downtown office buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Wire.
Just wanted to model Councilmember Dos Santos Tam in particular for his leadership as well as the council body. And just note that I think it will definitely benefit our housing inventory to make these buildings useful, right? But acknowledge that as we crafted a bill to comply with the state law, we also put some safeguards in to incorporate the concerns of some of the stakeholders that testified as well. And so I do think that this is a bill that will both protect public safety but also increase our housing inventory.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Tupola.
Yes, thank you to the introducer, the creativity. I do think that it's a priority of this council to continue to move all possibilities forward on how to make more affordable housing. So I'm looking forward to this, hopefully helping us so that that inventory can grow, and especially in the AMI categories that are desperately needed.
Thank you. Councilmember Say.
Mr. Chair, I'll probably go with reservations on this particular measure. And the concern that I have is that, during this period in time, we've always talked about workforce housing. We've talked about affordable housing. We've talked about all these type of low-income housing projects. For this particular measure, there is no provision for any of these particular categories, which is a concern for me also, because this particular projects will all probably be market. And I don't blame them, the developer. But my point to you is that we are at a point in our, not life, but career, whereby if we're not going to be addressing the workforce housing as far as what we were trying to do this past 4 years, and affordable housing with the 60% AMI, are we just telling ourselves that this is just for the high end once more? So that is my concern, and I can appreciate the sponsor of the measure as far as readapting, and they did put in some very good provisions. A case in point was that they're now mandated to have a backup generator, if I stand corrected, in the ventilation of air for these particular units. So in closing, I truly wish that this particular readapt, reuse projects become successful, but anticipating that, let the buyer beware. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina.
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto.
Aye.
Councilmember Say. Councilmember Talba.
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola.
Aye.
Councilmember Wire.
Aye.
Chair Waters.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 348 has been adopted and Bill 51, C2, has passed third reading. Members, shall we take a 30-minute break? Can you do 30 minutes? Okay. In recess until 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, members.